All right, welcome back to another episode of the Onebar and Lupagus Show. I'm Onebar. We got Justin from the Purple Persuasion in the house talking some weekly nuggets, which I think 99.9% of these were pulled directly from you guys. So if you haven't already, I mean, I think you guys are like around 6,500 on Twitter. You guys are growing and growing.
Yep.
Be sure to follow them. Links down in the description for your
Thank
Purple
you.
News.
Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it as always.
Hell yeah, every week until you get sick of us, baby. But let's just go through these. And some of these,
Do it.
we gotta warn people. There's gonna be some trigger alerts here, whether you believe
trigger
it or
alert.
it's BS. But damn it, we're gonna talk about everyone anyways. And let's start off with usually a pretty big trigger, and that's Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, putting out there that he feels the Vikings are waiting for someone to make them an offer they can't refuse for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think, like I said, I think a deal's done. I don't think it's 100% or like a lot of fans think it is. It's definitely very high that he re-signs with the Vikings. You know, I put it well north of 75% chance, but it's not a zero, and it's it's not 100, not unlock. And each day that goes by, it's the percentages drop just a little bit, and it just warrants more rumors and what's real, what's not. And Florio's he's the clickbaity-ish type, but he's got connections. He knows things. I know people don't want to listen to it sometimes, but he's right sometimes. And he was one of the first ones with Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons when he was looking at schools. So, there is some truth to some of his reports. This one, he kind of wishy-washy with a lot of Justin Jefferson takes. So I take some of those with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I wrote about a piece too on Minnesota Sports Fan too about this whole thing. And just with Jefferson and, is he going to get locked up? I hope so. But the receiver position could be like the running back position too at some point. The market's going to crash. Teams are starting. I think I read somewhere it was like a 50% hit rate on, or just about 50% hit rate on first round wide receivers. It's like 38% on second round wide receivers since 2011. And that's not factoring in 2022 and 2023 receivers yet. So they give them 3 years to assess if they're a success or not. So it's becoming more, you get these, these rookie receivers, they hit and they're on those rookie deals and paying, Justin Jefferson, non-quarterback, the most in the league type money. It's, they got JJ McCarthy now on the rookie contracts, so it helps, but it's not a sustainable model that I think, and I think it eventually will crash. I don't know if it's this year, next year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever that is. But I think teams are starting to go in the draft and then letting these receivers walk. I think we'll see that at some point. But for now, Justin Jefferson's going to be the top paid wide receiver, non-quarterback in the league. Schefter reported that earlier this week. I don't know what the holdup is. So patience is needed, I guess. But with each passing day, it just gets a little more nervous.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Florio seems to have a different story about Justin Jefferson every day, or a different angle. The Vikings are playing with fire. Now my only thing with this one is if they were waiting for an offer they can't refuse, teams would be leaking that shit, like saying, "Hey, man, the Vikings have him out there. He's available." Like somebody would want to.
Or something,
yeah, I mean, somebody would want to make a team would want to make the Vikings honestly look bad to get Justin Jefferson disgruntled. Yeah. So that's why I don't really believe they're waiting for an offer they can't refuse. I mean,
yeah, I think it would have been leaked too. And with something that is going to trade for him, say they do, they're going to have to pay him too. So that limits a lot of teams, especially with veteran quarterbacks paying, them now it's like 50+ million for a lot of these teams. So and you are seeing a lot of teams go, like we saw their heavy run on wide receivers this year. Last year too, there was a stretch in the first round. We got Jordan Addison. So I think teams are I think they're okay with drafting receivers now. It's the talent has improved significantly, especially in the first 2 rounds.
Well, let's go to Rap Sheet, another one you put out there, saying he's told Sam Darnold usually shines in the offseason because he's unbothered. But when he gets in the game, it's not always the same. So Sam Darnold giving us a little fool's gold here with a couple of good tosses and OTAs.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Vikings social media team released. He's throwing bombs to Jordan Addison, it's exciting stuff. He's probably going to start the season, given everything that we know now and kind of the learning curve and development that McCarthy's going to need. But yeah, I really enjoyed that clip from Rappaport. He kind of filtered himself. He was going to get going, and then he he backtracked a little bit and just said when he gets bothered. So I think he wanted to rip on it a little bit more, but kind of went a more of a professional approach, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, it's, he's on his fourth team. There's something there to that. It's, he's got a big arm. He's more mobile than people think. I think everybody's aware of that. But when he gets flustered, he sees ghosts. I think that we all saw that viral clip when he was with the Jets. So, he's going to look good in bread practice. He's not bothered. He already knows the system, or somewhat, because he came from Shanahan last year. So it's probably a little bit easier for him to learn the playbook than it will be for McCarthy. So, let's see when he gets some pressure on him. We see him in, maybe some practices I think they're practicing with the Browns in training camp this year. Obviously the preseason games, I do expect to see the starters to start, especially Darnold, at least maybe a few snaps or series in preseason, just because the whole new offense is not like Kirk Cousins' second year and so on, and his age and things like that. So I think we'll get a little bit of a tell there, and it's a gauntlet to start the season off outside of the Giants. So, we could be a 1-4 or 1-5 coming out of the bye, and it's not going to be pretty. So
it's disgusting. It sounds horrifying. I hate everything.
Yeah, but it's not right. We all root for him. He's still the quarterback who's ever out there week one. We're all going to be cheering for him. But yeah, we'll see if it's he's changed that kind of dynamic of him, being the practice king, and then he gets onto the games and he's lost and seeing ghosts. So we'll see.
I'm going to think of it this way, as like they say he's just good at practice maybe he's at the point in his career where it's just like, it doesn't even matter anymore. I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to go out there and sling the thing.
Yeah, I think he is probably at that point too. And
yeah, I mean, he almost has to be. Like, he has to let shit go. We'll see. And then in the same thing, I mean, they mentioned, JJ McCarthy is going to be hot on his heels.
Yeah.
So it's funny with McCarthy. We hear somebody is like, he's going to be QB3 all year. The next person is like, he's going to start week 1. Nobody has
nobody has a clue.
Alec Lewis again. He is saying that he fully expects Jefferson to sign a contract extension. He does note that if a deal does not happen, it's because Jefferson's camp is more comfortable waiting another year and risking it to get paid a little more cashish. And I think that one might have a little.
I think there's some truth to that one. I do believe that. It makes the most sense because the longer he waits, the price is only going to go up. We have Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb all need to get paid. Ayuk's going to get paid, probably not top money, but he's going to be wanting Amon-Ra, type money, 30+ mil. But yeah, I do think there's some truth to that. And, we saw this year he got injured and he's still going to get paid, when he missed almost half the season. So even if he goes in and, lights it up like he did last year for the first 5 games and then he gets hurt again, and, maybe there's a dynamic there. Maybe he's injury prone again, kind of will creep in, but he's proven that he's pretty healthy throughout most of his, 4+ years here in Minnesota. But I do think there's some truth to that they could wait it out and then they get more money. And I don't think Justin wants to sign a contract and then shortly after there goes CeeDee Lamb or Jamar Chase, upping them $1 or $2 million. Because it is that's how the game is played. So maybe that's why we're waiting. Maybe they're just trying to hope that Chase is signed and CeeDee Lamb, and then Justin Jefferson can pave the way and be, the number 1 paid wide receiver, non-quarterback money in the league, and probably would be like that for at least a couple of years until the next round of top receivers come into due for their contracts.
Well, and at some point, I mean, they're all everybody's playing nice right now, saying the right things, but at some point, the Vikings or Justin Jefferson, they're going to have to answer why nothing's getting done, and somebody's going to say something. Like Jefferson's either going to say like they're not offering enough, or the Vikings will be like, look, we offered. He's got an offer. He's not taking it. So we'll see.
I think they got to know what they're being. I mean, Lewis put out something either earlier this week or last week where he said like he's curious why things are taking so long, because they probably all know each other's numbers at this point. Like they got close last year right before training camp opened up, and then I can't believe they're arguing over pennies at this point. That just seems bizarre to me. So there must be something. There was also that I don't remember who had it. Might have been Fowler saying that the Vikings have some signing bonus type related matters that they can't really figure out until July 31st. So maybe they're just waiting on something to be more financially stable for the future, how to structure the contract. I'm not sure, but it just would be surprising if they're just arguing over a couple million or something like that per year.
Well, here's one from Alec Lewis going on the defense side of the ball. He's saying if healthy, outside linebackers Grenard and Van Ginkel will be the starters, and notes that Dallas Turner will start off as a rotational piece with the possibility of being an every down player toward the back half of the season. Here's what I wonder out of that. I mean, that's all sounds right. I mean, everybody's kind of expecting that, but You think if they would have known they were getting Dallas Turner, they would have signed like Ginkel?
I don't think so. I think I honestly think back then they were prepared to ship off both of their first round picks for a quarterback. I think obviously we know Drake May was the number one target, and they offered their two firsts and 2025 first round pick. So I think they were pretty, and even there was talks of McCarthy not even falling out of the top 5 or top 6 too. So I think they were prepared to do that. So that's why they went out and signed both of them. I think they're both excellent players. I think they got a lot of Grenard and Van Ginkel have a lot of upside. Plus with their veteran presence. I know Van Ginkel's battling a foot injury that he suffered, I think, at the end of last year for the Dolphins. So he's not practicing right now in OTAs. Obviously, a long ways to go before the season starts. But yeah, it's probably, they both were kind of limited role players too. They weren't full-time 3-down starters. So we'll kind of see how that, angle plays. But I think Flores is going to use all 3 of them pretty, he's going to use them all in their own skill set. He's off the ball too. Turner is. So you think he can drop into coverage. He can go inside. He can go on the outside. He's very versatile. He's obviously, he's got to bulk up just a little bit, I think, and work on refining some of his skill sets is what some of the beat writers have been saying, and the people that know a lot about football. But yeah, it makes sense. And I don't know. To me, it's kind of the Vikings seem to draft a lot of first round players that don't start right away. And I don't know, in my opinion, if you're in the first round, you should be a starter like right off the bat. So maybe it's just they didn't think they were going to get Turner. But yeah, I think
it's a great problem to have. It's a great problem to have. You can't have enough edge rushers. I love it.
Yeah.
I think like Turner's like so ready, like now to be thrown in there.
I think he is a starter in my opinion, but the veterans and kind of the pecking order of everything.
Yeah, I love the Ginker though. I want that dude to explode this year.
He's very good, very good. But he was only limited, but he had some crazy PFF numbers for those watching and listening. They were very, very good, like some of the best in the league at his position. But he's on limited snaps. So how are we going to see him? Is he a 2-3 down player, and an expanded role that he did in Miami? Maybe those dip down, or maybe he's just lights it up and he's a stud. So got him for a couple of years. So we'll see how it plays out.
Let's go, Ginker. All right, let's go. More defense. So Alec Lewis again. He sees Vikings, Byron Murphy and Shaq Griffin in the base defense with Caleb Evans and Griffin on the outside and Murphy in the slot for nickel. So the only thing I want to talk about is a Caleb Evans name being mentioned here. I know a lot of Vikings fans are just over a Caleb Evans. I mean, at this point, Lupagus and I talked multiple times, like, is this dude going to make the roster? The cornerback depth is going to be a very interesting one to watch. But the fact that he's even mentioned with these guys, like maybe Vikings fans need to buckle up and realize that Caleb Evans ain't going anywhere. I know it's early.
Yeah, I think that quarterback position is one of the top things we need to watch going into training camp. I think there's a lot of people on the fringe there. I mean, you got Andrew Booth Jr. Caleb Evans got benched numerous times. Blackman was kind of up and down, started off kind of good and then kind of tapered towards the end of the season for who knows what reasons. Byron Murphy battled some injuries and kind of has in his career as well. Shaq Griffin, I think he's good. He's not great, but he brings some veteran presence, and he's also pretty good at man coverage, which I know Flores wants to shift to this year. So, yeah, I think that's a position group that we're going to have to really watch going into camp, and I do think there's going to be some surprise cuts in the cornerback. Sounds like Evans has got the leg up on everybody, from those ones that are on the fringe. I don't think Booth is going to make the roster. I think you can add Scene into that as a safety. I think the whole 2022 draft class was just not good.
Not good. You're being too polite.
Yeah,
that's the nicest way anybody could say it.
It definitely set the team back. Yeah, it set the team back pretty for I don't know how many years, but that was not good.
Yeah. Wait, we got Nick Muse out of the deal, baby. So we'll see what happens there.
Ty Chandler's around too. Still,
Ty
there's
Chandler,
a couple rotational pieces, but
Ed Ingram,
unproven still, but not.
Well, compared to everybody else, he's a Hall of Famer from that. He's the Hall of Famer of the draft class.
Yeah, he probably is.
All right, a couple more. Remember, TPP, follow him on Twitter. Links down in the description. Also, Big Game Travel. We had Johnny Randall on last week. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun. So links down there too. What's your promo code for the Big Game Travel?
TPP24. So for those interested in wanting to go to London, pack your bags. They'll do everything for you. John Randall's a special host, and you get to hang out with him. He's part of it. It's not just signing autographs and then he walks away. He's with you guys. So if you guys are interested, Use TPP24 for a special prize too if you go through that. So yeah, it's been popular. We're looking forward to going next year too, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I can't think of
See a lot
anything
of you guys
better
there.
than getting half in the bag with John Randall.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. What doesn't sound amazing, we just talked about them. Kramer says he's heard from behind the scenes that the light bulb is not going off for Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth, which could lead to them being cut this offseason. Light bulb.
You don't want to hear
I
that.
mean,
You don't want to be associated with that.
the light bulb's burnt out, man. There is no
Yeah.
light bulb anymore. So, like, the fact that stuff like this is even coming out, like, it's not clicking. Light bulb's not on. They're not making the team, are they?
No, Kramer's pretty. He's pretty. I don't know a good way to put it, but he's kind of like a protector of the Vikings. He doesn't really throw that kind of like information out there. So that was on the Access Vikings podcast from Kramer. But he essentially said that he's heard, which he typically doesn't do this. So when it comes from him, it's saying something that the light bulb isn't clicking. And I don't think I ever want to be associated with the light bulb not being, on for these guys. So I think Booth is probably done. They may hold on him because with Smith being gone, but I mean, he's already 5th on the depth chart behind Ward and Smith and Metellus and Bynum. So he might even be 6 now. I think they have 6 safeties actually. So they're probably done, and it's not going to be good because it's going to get a lot of 2022 draft class. But at some point, you just got to cut bait. Sounds like he's not a good fit for Flores' scheme. And I know this was back when we had Donatel and stuff, but when you're associated with that type of verbiage and language, you're probably on thin ice.
Yeah, it's very, very. I mean, I could see we're gonna be able to tell real quick how stubborn this Vikings front office is if they end up keeping both these guys for some reason. And it's just like a pride thing, and they're just like not willing to do it. If they both move on or they cut them both, as shitty as that is for that draft class, I mean, at least it'll show like a little bit like Kwesi is like, all right, he can admit his mistakes and just move on.
That's a lot of GM's problems. It's not just Kwesi or a lot of that pride issue. He's a 1st-round pick. He's got to hold on hope, but he was a healthy scratch towards the end of the year. He's 6th on the depth chart for that, and there's going to be a lot of position battle that they need. I don't think they're going to go with 6 safeties this year. I think they're going to keep one more cornerback instead. So yeah, they're probably gone, and I hope Kwesi just understands and best wishes to him and on a new team, and maybe they get a fresh start somewhere else and a better scheme fit for them.
I'm going to predict some sort of mysterious injury for one of those guys is going on like season-ending IR.
Oh, really?
That'll be it. Like it's something weird like that's going to happen. Yeah, there's going to be like, all right, you're hurt. You're on IR, man.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Have a great season. All right. Let's see. Just a real quick one. Mentioned Alec Lewis mentioning that McLaughlin and Gabriel Murphy, the undrafted free agents, are the ones that are standing out so far. Also mentioning that Seth Vernon, the punter, put on a wildly impressive display. Ryan Wright shaking in his boots.
Yeah, I think that's I'm glad they brought a punter to give him some challenge and whatnot. I mean, I wasn't real thrilled. He had a really good first year with the Vikings. Second year, he really regressed. I think his inside the 20 percentage just was not good at all. Way too many touchbacks. So I think there's a good chance, and I haven't seen him or anything, but we'll get some clips of him and more reports as the media gets more access over these next few weeks and months. But yeah, I think that's something good. I'm glad they brought in, they got the kicking battle, they got the punting battle. And I do think Murphy and McLaughlin probably make the team. Sounds like there's really high, things. They did pay him a little bit, decent money. I know Murphy has gotten the most money out of the whole team from an undrafted free agent perspective, in line with what Pace got last year. So maybe that's kind of an indicative tell that they really want these guys. And I think McLaughlin shined. He's got some dog to him a little bit. And like I said, that cornerback group is going to be tough.
Yeah, I love McLaughlin. I still can't believe how cheap he was for an undrafted free agent. I would have thought he would have been.
Oh yeah, he was the one that got 30,000 or something that. Everybody.
He was projected round. I mean, as early as like round 5. I mean, it was crazy. But yeah, undrafted free agents. Vikings clearly bringing. I think they kept 3 on the 53 last year, so they liked them some undrafted free agents. Last one,
Carter Jr. I think was another one.
The one that will get everybody all riled up, whether they believe it or not. But Charlie Walters, there was buzz, and this is the first time we've heard this. We heard this right after the draft as well, but there was buzz at draft time that the Vikings wanted to move up to pick 5 and select Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Just imagine, like, man, when we were on the. What if we just watched that when we were like live on the show? That would have been.
I would have died from alcohol poisoning.
I know. We would all have been stunned. I mean, it would have been. It probably would have been more stunning than the Falcons selecting Michael Penix Jr. at whatever pick 8. It would have been up there as head scratching move. He's not the first one to say it. I know Florio kind of had that nugget right after the draft that they were sniffing around Neighbors. There wasn't a lot of leak or insiders and stuff saying that they're linked to Neighbors. I don't even know if they watched him at all in any sort of way. So that would have been just like under the cover of darkness type of a surprising move. And I know going with Addison last year, and I think Charlie even continued in a piece saying that, like, if they did do that move and executed it, that they would have traded Justin Jefferson. And I know I mentioned earlier that, the receiver market, the hit rate's pretty good for first round receivers nowadays. I'm not going to, Charlie's had some hits, but he also has some out of the box type stuff, but he's also not the first one and only one to say it. So I don't know, something to discuss in the offseason. It's obviously going to get a lot of attention because it's Justin Jefferson, still not signed. It's pretty wild in its own self, but good old Charlie keeps us entertained this offseason. So I always look forward to his pieces every other Sunday. And I don't think it's true, but it's fun to talk about.
Well, you said it. I mean, it keeps us entertained in an offseason. And we will never know. We will never know.
No, but nobody's going to ask him that question either. Kevin, were you guys ever interested in Neighbors?
Yeah, can you imagine? Nobody will ever know. It's a good talker, whether we like it or not. It would have been absolutely insane. I don't believe it, but
and they could have done it. It's not like, if they really wanted Neighbors, they could have executed the deal up with the Chargers. I mean, to jump the Giants, because I don't remember who they drafted though. Was it Alter, the other offensive tackle? But yeah, they could have executed it and jumped up and got him. So they didn't do it. It's not like one of those things where, that team drafted him ahead of them. So they didn't do it. So it kind of shows that probably wasn't a realistic thing, but worth something in the offseason, keep us entertained.
Well, and everybody that says we should have done it, then we don't have to pay Jefferson. We would have been dealing with the same thing with Neighbors in 3 years anyways. So It's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to pay the man. You got to pay Justin Jefferson, whatever it takes. But those are the Nuggets, man. That was a hefty bag this year.
Yeah, there was a lot of action this week, even though OTAs was only a couple days. And yeah, we got OTAs tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. And then mandatory minicamp is the week after that, 4th through the 6th. And media's got access on Wednesday this week, and then all of mandatory minicamp. We'll see if Jefferson shows. He did last year. I think that's probably going to be the biggest talker going into mandatory minicamp. If he does not show up, he's deviating from what he did last year with no contract. And for people that don't know, he's actually got the same agent as Bosa and Burrow. So he got those deals. They get those paid. And, Burrow showed up at OTAs, but Bosa held out almost all of training camp before the deal was done and didn't go to mandatory minicamp. So not sure what type of advice he's getting, but, those are getting top of the end deals. And I think his agent's going to get it done. So that'll be the talkers going into the next couple of weeks.
Hell yeah. We got some very fun, interesting weeks ahead.
Yeah.
Justin will be on the show throughout that for sure. Absolutely. Appreciate you hopping on, man. Again, check out the links down in the description. Give the Purple Persuasion a follow.
Thank you.